Hi everyone, welcome back to Aviation Tips, and whoever's new, welcome to this channel. Today's topic is VMC in multi-engine. What is VMC and what factors would increase VMC? We're going to go a little bit in detail in VMC here. The video time probably going to go up to 20 minutes, hopefully make it in 15 minutes. So let's jump into VMC. VMC is minimum airspeed at which directional control can be maintained with the critical engine operative. And obviously VMC speed is marked on the airspeed indicator by a red radial line. Aircraft manufacturers determine VMC speed based on conditions set by FAA under 423-149. So um, again, VMC factors are made a quick acronym, and it's SMAC foam. S stands for standard day. Temperature is 15 degrees Celsius, 59 degree Fahrenheit, 2992. Maximum power, maximum weight. Actually, that's gonna be maximum power. Maximum power, and then you have FCG. FCG, critical engine operative, flaps up, gear up to 2.5 bank, and then most unfavorable weight. So when we talk about this VMC, everybody gets into a kind of a dark room and they are like, oh shoot, smack form passed. We know those things. Okay, that's good. Now let's go into a little bit of detail about them. How not to just memorize the smack form, but to actually know what the heck VMC means. Uh, just got a drawing here. Let's say the airplane's flying straight and level, and obviously all the surfaces, the airfoil surfaces, create lift. Same as this here aircraft, that you have relative wind right up here, and then you have vertical component that creates lift. The air goes around the vertical component of this vertical stabilizer and creates lift and maintain the aircraft straight and level. That means your direction maintains directional control. So this is why they call it the minimum airspeeds which directional control can be maintained. So what is minimum airspeed? So let's jump into another drawing here. I don't know, my drawings are horrible, but hopefully you can see this. Let's say the airplane lost the left engine is lost, and all of a sudden the aircraft is yawing to the left because of the asymmetric thrust here, and we haven't counteracted with rudder, and what happens here is that when you are we when you lose your engine, you go with the checklist that you have right away. Some guys came up with the checklist. Oh, maintain blue line. Well, how about the maintaining attitude, then airspeed, and maintain directional control? First, you have to make sure if you're on a climb and you lose your high performance aircraft and you lose your critical engine, that turbocharger or turboprop will push you so badly to the left that it's so hard to talk about the maintain airspeed and then flaps out, gear up. You have to maintain your attitude, heading, and obviously that's called directional control. Heading, maintain your attitude, airspeed, and then directional control, and then go with your checklist, whatever checklist you have to do, which is mixture full, props full, throttle full, flaps up, gear up, identify, verify. and then if you're in a safe altitude, you're obviously gonna do the emergency checklist. So at this point, we see our aircraft lost critical engine, and all of a sudden it's yawing to the left, and then you are pressing on the rudder and holding it. So now we have the aircraft. We have the aircraft under control. We have the rudder pressed, and it's kind of the picture is not so good, but the rudder is basically pressed on fully to right rudder is pressed, basically stepping on the ball to bring the nose to the right. Now at this point, if you can see here in this picture, your angle of attack between vertical stabilizer and the relative wind is very little. That means you have very low angle of attack. When you get to this point here, when you have pressed that rudder all the way, now you have that chord line that goes from the leading edge of the vertical stabilizer to the trailing edge of the rudder. So that means if you draw a line from there to here, that's when you have the chord line. It's like if you look at it, if you do a horizontal, for example, drawing a flap right quick so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. This is your flap, and this is your extended, this is your wing, this is your flap here. Now your chord line from leading edge goes all the way trailing edge there. And then relative wind like that. And same thing here. This is your trailing edge, this point here, and then this is your leading edge, this point here. So now, getting back to this aircraft here, there we go. Alright, so now we have this relative wind coming from the same direction, but at this point we have some kind of angle created here, high angle of attack at this point. And now we have a high angle of attack, and pretty much that is kind of the angle between the relative wind and the chord line is and it's pretty high at this point. Now we are maintaining, let's say in a Seminole we are maintaining 56, and the day that they have tested the aircraft, so that is the speed that you're maintaining the aircraft in the air, let's say keeping the aircraft level and trying to fly it, maintain directional control, attitude, airspeed. And now let's say what happens if you go below 68. If you go below 68, now that angle will increase more because you have to press more right rudder, which you don't have enough. And what happens is not much of an effective wind on the rudder itself, and the angle of attack increases because your vertical stabilizer goes to the left more, and now your angle of attack reaches critical angle of attack, and there's no more lift, and that's why the aircraft trying to yaw, roll, and go into a spin. You're probably going to go into a flat spin at this point, and just because you couldn't maintain that minimum controllable airspeed, VMC. Now, hopefully you guys understood this part here. If not, maybe I can somehow, I don't know if you guys know any application that you could draw an animation drawing or something. Just let me know in the comments below. So let's go into a standard day. In a standard day, now the aircraft you're looking from above again, but it's pretty simpler aircraft. Standard day, you have the aircraft produces you have a good performance. The engines are producing good horizontal lift, and you're having greater performance, greater thrust, and that's why if your critical engine fails, your asymmetric thrust will be a lot higher because there's a lot higher of pushing towards your dead engine. And then obviously you have a rudder to counteract with, and when you counteract at this point, you don't have so much of a rudder, but your engine is at highest basically, especially on the climb. Your VMC at this point goes way higher. Okay, your VMC is high. Now that's your standard day. Same thing as your maximum power. So those two things could be combined. Your standard day, your maximum power, it's the same thing. Give you same results. Okay. Now going into the FCG, I don't know if you guys heard of teeter totter. I don't know if you. I'm pretty sure everyone played on the teeter totter. The fat guys sit here, very fat guy, and the skinny guy sit here. He wishes that he could have been fatter, or that totter could have been a little bit taller on his side, or longer on this side, so you could sit and at this point and it would just pull this fat guy up, and he's smiling. So same thing. The airplane's here, and then same thing. Your CG, forward CG, and then aft CG. Let's put it this way, make it easier. So the rudder, it depends, same thing. So if you have this right here distance, or this distance would have been easier for you. So if you have forward CG, and that's going to be VMC kind of lower than the aft CG, because VMC is going to go high at this point. Same story about these things here. Why it goes high? Because not much effect of a rudder, because you have so much weight in the back. You could have full rudder, and you probably gonna, at higher speeds, you're gonna go down if you don't maintain the VMC speed. You have to know that your VMC in Seminole is not gonna be 56. It's gonna be a lot higher if you have aft CG. How do you know it? You gotta look at your weight and balance. Think about stuff. And let's clean this guy. Let's say he now smiling at this point. Yay. Now the guy comes down and they're playing, staying happy. Alright, that's your FCG. Critical engine operative. It's like the previous one we discussed. Critical engine operative. Well, what happens if the critical engine dies? You still can maintain directional control, but your VMC is a little bit higher because the center of thrust is right up here during the climb, and that is pretty further, and that would give you same as this here, your longer distance or longer push. That means more can push you toward the inoperative engine. So that means you have more asymmetric thrust, and then obviously you counteract it with rudder, which you don't have so much effect on rudder. You're gonna have a full rudder, and pray that you don't have the turbocharged or supercharged aircraft. So that's your critical engine, but compared to the critical engine operating, obviously you have less. VMC is lower. At this point, VMC is higher. At this point here, if your right engine dies, you have less, because your distance is lower to the fuselage. Thus you have a less asymmetric thrust pushing toward the right dead engine, and you have a good amount of rudder to counteract. So you have a rudder to counteract, and then you have the fuselage, the weight to, not getting pushed toward the right. Alright, so that's your critical engine operative. Now, think about the flaps up, gear up, clean aircraft. If you have a clean aircraft and you lose your, let's say, your critical engine or whatever engine you lose, if you have flaps up, gear up, you don't have so much of a drag. So that means if you, let's say your critical engine's dead, you have flaps down, say gear down. Now at this point, you basically um your VMC is lower because um because these flaps and gears, they create drag. So if you have asymmetric thrust there pushing it, you have drag that pushes that this way because all these flaps and gears. So drag, parasite drag that kind of creates drag and counteracts the asymmetric thrust to not to push you so much to the inoperative engine. And you have the rudder that will help you in this case, and that's why you have less VMC. And here now we talk about the higher VMC. If you have clean aircraft, you have engine is dead, left engine. At this point, you will have a lot more asymmetric thrust and a little bit of rudder. And at this point here, you have nothing, no drag around here, so you have a more lift and more asymmetric thrust, and your VMC is a lot higher. So, coming down to most unfavorable weight, let's say same thing as come up when it comes to weight. If the aircraft's heavier, let's say aircraft's heavier, doesn't get pushed around so much. So if you have engine fail, it doesn't have so much of asymmetric thrust, then the lighter aircraft gets pushed a lot with much force, and the weight here will counteract the asymmetric thrust. Now, the clean aircraft VMC goes a lot higher than 56. And then your lift critical engine is inoperative. Now, why are they saying up to 5-degree bank? That one can be drawn a little bit different way. In the Seminole, up to 5-degree bank would reduce the VMC, but if you don't have 5-degree bank, your vertical component of the lift is kind of higher, horizontal is less. So what you want to do is at this point you want to have a 5-degree let me draw this right quick here. So when about the 5-degree bank, when the wings are level, only the rudder is used to stop the yaw produced by the operating engine. So only you have at this point you have only rudder. Let's say this engine is operating, this is inoperative. So you have only rudder at this point, and that will give you higher VMC. Banking into operative engine creates a horizontal component of lift, which aids the rudder force. So that's exactly 100% what happens here. Your horizontal component of lift increases, adds into rudder force, and you have more stability here. So that's why you have, with this horizontal component of lift and full rudder, the flexion VMC is the lowest speed. So increases with the decreased bank by a factor of approximately 3 knots per degrees of bank angle. So that means your VMC is lower at this point and you have high VMC at this point. So you need to kind of, help yourself, not just with the rudder, but with the horizontal component of lift. On top of it, you're trying to add a little bit of weight into your operating engine. That means weight of the fuselage and weight of the plane, basically. And that's when you have a lower VMC. So, we conclude here the video. Hopefully, didn't take much of you guys' time. Enjoyed the video. Please spread the word. Thumbs up. Comment below if you have any questions, and then like the video. Let's share the videos so our community pilots are aware of the VMC danger, because many have lost their lives not knowing what VMC could do to them. Alright, you have a great day. Blue skies and tailwinds.